Direct News TV. February 26, 2024. 6 die in 2 crashes in Trelawny within only 2 days, Jamaica. This week's featured overall development as Newsmaker of the Week are the 2 deadly motor vehicle crashes which occurred on sections of the Northern Coastal Highway in Trelawny, which resulted in the deaths of 6 men over a 2-day period. The crashes that occurred on Sunday and Tuesday have reignited memories of similar deadly road collisions, as well as multiple fatalities, over the years in Trelawny. The recent incidents have also led police in the parish to lambast motorists for failing to adhere to their repeated warnings relative to speeding on the highways there. The victims of the Sunday, February 18 fatal collision that claimed the lives of 4 persons, have all been identified as men, 3 of whom were from Falmouth in Trelawny. The deceased are 24-year-old Marco Williams of Pimento Walk, Ocho Rios, St. Anne, 23-year-old Kamani Thompson, a fisherman of Grants Avenue, Cornwall Street in Falmouth, 24-year-old Andre Gonzalez, a photographer of Mockingbird Avenue, Florence Hall in Falmouth, and 25-year-old Jason Reed, a lifeguard of Peel Street, Falmouth, the latter 3 all from Trelawny. Reports were that about 2:32 a.m., Thompson was driving a Toyota Mark X motorcar towards Falmouth with Gonzalez, Williams and Reed aboard, when on reaching an intersection, he collided with an Audi Q3 motorcar that was attempting to make a right turn. The police were alerted and all 4 passengers in the Mark X motorcar were transported to hospital, where they succumbed to their injuries while being treated. A man and a woman, both passengers in the Audi Q3, were admitted in hospital in stable conditions. News then came on Tuesday of another fatal 2-vehicle collision along the North Coast Highway, in the vicinity of Spring Hill, Trelawny. The drivers of both vehicles, a grey Toyota Voxy which was being operated as a taxi, and a grey Toyota Axio, succumbed to their injuries at the scene. They were identified as 62-year-old taxi operator Byron Bryan of Duncans, and 31-year-old Roderick Ray of Samuels Prospect, both in Trelawny. 3 passengers from the taxi were taken to hospital, where they were treated for their injuries. Reports from the police were that about 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, the driver of a Toyota Axio was proceeding in an easterly direction, and the driver of the Voxy in the opposite direction. On reaching a section of the roadway, the driver of the Toyota Axio reportedly lost control of the vehicle, which hit a guardrail to its left and ran into the path of the Toyota Voxy. It is evident, based on the damage to both vehicles, that at least one, or both vehicles, was speeding at the time of the impact, said Deputy Superintendent of Police Winston Milton, who is the head of the Trelawny Police Division. He told reporters that motorists continue to speed on the Northern Coastal Highway, this despite repeated warnings for them to desist from such practices. This is a corridor that has a history of fatal and, other, serious motor vehicle crashes, Milton stated. Continuing, he said, "We know that a lot of motorists tend to have a false sense of confidence, because, they tell themselves that they cannot be the victim of motor vehicle collision. Consequently, they continue to speed and not heed the warning that we are giving to them," Milton indicated, adding that 7 persons have died in road crashes in Trelawny this year up to Tuesday. Social media users have also expressed concerns about the recent spate of road fatalities in Trelawny. Trelawny again. "My word, no saw, the road need blood coverage," said a woman on Facebook. "This part of the road is just before you start Spring Hill, nothing difficult about driving here. The road is wide and this is not the slippery area," a man said in reference to Tuesday's crash. "Based on my experience, Jamaican drivers not very good on judging distance and take too much risk while overtaking," a man opined. Said a woman relative to Tuesday's crash, "Reckless driving on wet roads. These drivers needs do better and obey the speed limit or lose their license privileges." In relation to Sunday's 2-vehicle collision, a man commented, "Police need to do some road education in Trelawny, man. Too many crash from last year to now desu." According to the Road Safety Unit, RSU, in the Ministry of Transport, Jamaica recorded 425 road fatalities in 2023. This represented a 13% decrease when compared to the 488 fatalities that were recorded in 2022. In Trelawny, there were several deadly road crashes last year, adding to the deadly history of road fatalities in the parish over previous years. On Saturday, November 11, 2023, two women identified as Anne-Renee Gordon and Heather Stennett, both of Discovery Bay, St. Anne addresses, died as a result of injuries they sustained in a three-vehicle crash on the Braco Main Road in Trelawny. 5 other people were injured in that incident. Reports were that about 2:45 p.m., Gordon and Stennett were traveling in a Toyota motorcar on the Braco Main Road heading towards Duncan's, when the vehicle collided with 2 Kia motorcars. The women sustained multiple injuries and died at the scene. A month before that incident, 2 American men died from injuries they sustained when the car they were traveling in collided with a truck on the Rio Bueno Main Road in Trelawny. The incident occurred on October 30, 2023, and one of the deceased Americans was identified as 63-year-old Clyde Douglas of North Carolina, United States. The identity of the other deceased was not disclosed then. Reports were that about 4:45 p.m., a Nissan Note motorcar that was being driven by one of the foreign nationals, was traveling on the Rio Bueno Main Road towards St. Anne, when it collided with an international truck headed in the opposite direction. The driver of the car and his passenger suffered injuries from the impact of the crash, and died on the spot. 3 people also lost their lives following a 3-vehicle collision on the Flamingo Main Road in Trelawny on New Year's Eve, December 31, 2022. 2 of the deceased were Trelawny residents, 22-year-old Latanian Mendez from Friendship, and 23-year-old Zayden Essen. The third person who died in the crash was 19-year-old Iration Williams from Cornwall Courts in Montego Bay, St. James. The Trelawny police reported that about 11:45 p.m., the 3 individuals were among 9 people traveling in 3 cars when the collision occurred. All 9 persons were injured and taken to hospital, where the 3 individuals were pronounced dead and the others were admitted for treatment. On Saturday, November 11, 2022, 2 men died from injuries they sustained when a bus transporting hotel workers ran into a parked truck along the Braco Main Road in Rio Bueno, Trelawny. The victims were identified as 28-year-old fabric attendant Reese Anderson of Lilyfield in Bamboo, St. Anne, and 32-year-old housekeeping coordinator Mikal Thompson of Breadnut Hill in Ocho Rios, St. Anne. It was reported that the bus was transporting the workers from St. Anne to Falmouth at about 4:20 a.m. on the day of the crash. On reaching a section of the Braco Main Road, the driver reportedly lost control of the vehicle, which collided with a parked cold storage truck. The impact resulted in the driver and several passengers sustaining injuries and being rushed to the Falmouth Hospital, where the 2 men were pronounced dead. On Friday, March 18, 2022, popular social media influencer, 21-year-old Lexi Williams, was among 3 people who all succumbed to injuries they sustained in a multi-vehicle collision along the Northern Coastal Highway in the vicinity of Spring Hill, Trelawny. Williams, a resident of Chalky Hill, St. Anne, was the winner of the 2021 season of Jamaican reality series 876 Roommates. The other deceased were 25-year-old Kemar Smith of Hyde in Clarkstown, Trelawny, and 31-year-old Chris Codner of Exchange, St. Anne. According to reports from the Duncan's police, Smith was driving a Toyota Mark X motorcar from Falmouth towards St. Anne at around 6:40 p.m., with Williams as a passenger in the vehicle. It was reported that on reaching the vicinity of Spring Hill, the driver of the Mark X lost control of the vehicle, which crashed into a Toyota Voxy motorcar that was being driven by Codner in the opposite direction. Smith, Williams and Codner were all pronounced dead at the hospital. 5 other persons, 1 a passenger in the Toyota Mark X, and the other 4 passengers of the Toyota Voxy, were all admitted for treatment at the hospital. Meanwhile, 2 brothers were among 4 people who died in a horrific mid-morning crash along the Hague Main Road in Trelawny on Sunday, January 19, 2020. The four persons who died in the collision were identified as brothers, Omar Russell and Omroe Russell, 23-year-old Dayton McCleary, and 22-year-old Everton James, all of Portland addresses. They were all passengers of a Nissan March motorcar that collided with an Island Route coach bus along the major Trelawny thoroughfare. Reports were that about 10 a.m., the four persons and an American woman were traveling in the vehicle towards Montego Bay, when the driver overtook a line of traffic and collided with the coach bus that was being driven in the opposite direction. The five occupants of the car, who were said to be heading to the Sangster International Airport, and the bus driver sustained injuries. The driver of the bus was treated and released, while the injured woman was admitted in serious condition at the time. She was later airlifted to receive treatment in her homeland. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.